Real talk, how do you sleep at night? And I don't mean like emotionally, I mean literally what's on your wrist right now. Because here's the thing, in 2026, the closest piece of technology to your body at any given moment is probably your phone, your earbuds, and this, your smartwatch. You can put the phone down, you can take the earbuds out. But the watch stays on. It's basically grown into my skin at this point. And every single morning, without fail, this thing greets you with a little sleep report. Deep sleep, light sleep, REM, a score, like your body just submitted a term paper and the algorithm graded it overnight. Cool, great, very futuristic. Except, I switched watches a few months back, and the night I put on the new one, my deep sleep basically doubled. My sleep score jumped almost 20 points. I went from under an hour of deep sleep to over 2.5 hours. Overnight. Literally overnight. Did I just get better at sleeping? Is this watch some kind of enchanted bracelet? No, obviously not. Turns out if you strap two different brand smartwatches on the same wrist, which people have absolutely done, they'll sometimes disagree by over an hour on how long you slept. Same wrist, same night, same human. Completely different numbers. So what is actually going on here? Okay, before we can talk about whether your watch is measuring sleep correctly, we need to talk about what sleep actually is. Because it is way more complicated than you closed your eyes and woke up 8 hours later. Sleep has structure, it has stages, and the way your smartwatch labels them, deep sleep, light sleep, REM, is actually a simplified, consumer-friendly version of what's happening in your brain. The real medical framework breaks it down into two major categories, non-REM sleep and REM sleep. Non-REM has 3 stages. N1 is what I call the falling stage. You know that feeling where you're drifting off in class and suddenly your whole body just jerks like you tripped on a step that wasn't there? That's called a hypnic jerk, and it happens because your brain isn't fully asleep yet. It's still checking in on your body, making sure everything's still alive. Welcome to N1. N2 is where you actually fall asleep. Heart rate slows down, muscles relax, body temperature drops. This is the longest stage of the sleep cycle. Most people spend about half their total sleep time here. N3 is the one everybody wants more of, deep sleep. This is when your growth hormone spikes, your cells repair themselves, your immune system does its maintenance work. It's the most restorative stage and most of it happens in the first half of the night. If you're not getting enough of this, you will feel it. And then there's REM, rapid eye movement, which is basically your brain running on full power while your body is paralyzed. This is dream sleep. Your eyes are literally moving back and forth under your eyelids, your brain is spinning up narratives from random memory fragments, and your heart rate becomes unpredictable. REM is critical for memory consolidation and emotional regulation. There's a reason sleep deprivation makes you feel like you're losing your mind. These 4 stages cycle in roughly 90 to 120-minute blocks. A full night's sleep runs through that loop 4 or 5 times. It's not a flat line, it's a wave. So how do doctors measure this stuff for real? It's called a polysomnography, or PSG, and it is not glamorous. You go to a sleep lab, they stick electrodes on your scalp, your face, your chest, your legs. We're talking dozens of sensors. They monitor your brain waves, your eye movements, your muscle activity, your heart rhythm, your breathing, and your blood oxygen levels simultaneously. Every 30 seconds, a technician scores what stage you're in. This is the gold standard. It's the only method that can definitively tell you what your sleep architecture looks like. And here's the obvious question. Does your Apple Watch do any of that? No. It cannot read your brain waves. It cannot track your eye movements. It does not have an EEG built into the band. So what does it actually do? The honest answer is, they make a very educated guess. The slightly more legally defensible version is, they infer your sleep stage from indirect signals. Here's what's inside basically every sleep tracking smartwatch. First, an accelerometer. This thing is sampling your movement dozens to hundreds of times per second. Every time you roll over, twitch, shift your arm, it gets logged. The logic is, in light sleep, your brain is still active, so you move more. In deep sleep, your muscles are fully relaxed, so you're basically a log. But here's the obvious exploit. If you're lying in bed, completely still, doom scrolling TikTok at 1 a.m., your watch will probably log that as deep sleep. Motion-based tracking cannot tell the difference between deeply unconscious and too tired to move. Second, a PPG sensor. That green or red light blinking on the back of your watch, that's a photoplethysmography sensor. It shoots light through your skin and measures how much gets absorbed by your blood. The The ratio changes with your heart rate, your blood oxygen levels, and even your breathing, because your heart rate varies slightly with every breath you take. The science here is genuinely cool. In REM sleep, your heart rate is variable and higher. In light sleep, it's moderate. In deep sleep, it's at its lowest and most stable. The calmest your cardiovascular system gets all day. But PPG has limits. It can be thrown off by tattoos, darker skin tones, wearing the watch too loose, having dry skin, being cold. Any of those can degrade the signal. The critical gap. None of this is brain data, none of it is eye movement data. Those are the two things that actually define sleep stages in clinical medicine. A smartwatch, no matter how good the sensors are, is working with proxy signals and running them through a machine learning model to produce a best guess. So here's where it gets really interesting, and explains why two watches on the same wrist can disagree by over an hour. Different companies have built fundamentally different algorithms. Apple Watch leans heavily on the accelerometer, body movement data, combined with heart rate from PPG. Apple trained their models on large clinical PSG datasets, and their approach tends to be conservative. They'd rather undercount deep sleep than overcount it. The algorithm also adapts to your personal baseline over time, learning your normal resting heart rate, your HRV range, and adjusting accordingly. The result, Apple users often feel like their deep sleep numbers seem low, but the trends stay consistent, which, as we'll talk about, is actually more important than the absolute number. Garmin goes harder on heart rate variability and respiration data. Their algorithms tend to show more detailed sleep stage segmentation. And if you track across both, Garmin often reports longer deep sleep windows than Apple does for the same person. Samsung on the Galaxy Watch series leans heavily into their bioactive sensor, a triple sensor setup measuring optical heart rate, electrical heart rate, and bioelectrical impedance. More data inputs generally means more confident outputs, though that doesn't automatically mean more accurate ones. And the core issue is this. Every company has its own secret algorithm, its own training data set, its own threshold for what counts as deep sleep versus light sleep. There's no industry standard, no universal definition, so comparing sleep scores across brands is a bit like comparing grades from two different professors who built their own rubrics and never talked to each other. A 2022 study published in Sensors put 6 mainstream wearables through a head-to-head test against clinical PSG on 53 healthy adults. Here's what they found. For detecting whether you're asleep or awake, solid, 80 to 90% accurate. These devices are genuinely good at knowing you're unconscious. For identifying which stage you're in, 50 to 65% accuracy. To put that in context, a coin flip is 50%. Your smartwatch is doing better than a coin flip, but not by as much as the marketing would suggest. And a 2023 Stanford study added another wrinkle. Even within the same brand, accuracy varies significantly based on your BMI, whether you have sleep apnea, and how efficient your sleep generally is. The same watch can be quite accurate for one person and meaningfully off for another. Same watch, same night. Could be a 10 to 20% difference just based on who's wearing it. Here's where I want to slow down, because this part actually matters a lot more than the deep sleep percentage. Sleep apnea affects roughly 80 million Americans, and up to 80% of moderate to severe cases are undiagnosed. You stop breathing repeatedly throughout the night, your blood oxygen drops, your heart spikes, you wake up partially, and most people have no idea it's happening. They just feel exhausted, fog-brained, and wonder why 8 hours of sleep never feels like enough. Untreated sleep apnea is linked to elevated risk of high blood pressure, stroke, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. It's a serious condition that a lot of people are walking around with, completely unaware. This is where smartwatches start earning their keep in a more meaningful way. Devices like the Apple Watch Series 9 and later have FDA-cleared sleep apnea detection features. Samsung's Galaxy Watch has similar functionality. These aren't diagnosing you, they're flagging patterns, nighttime heart rate spikes, frequent blood oxygen dips, fragmented sleep across 30 days. And Apple and Samsung are explicit about this. They're looking for trends over at least 30 days, not single night snapshots. If the watch notices a pattern that might indicate breathing disruptions, it tells you to talk to a doctor. That's the right use case. That's valuable. HRV, heart rate variability, is another signal worth paying attention to for the long game. HRV is essentially how much your heart rate varies between beats. High HRV generally indicates your nervous system is in recovery mode. Low, consistently flat HRV is a sign that your body is under stress, even while you sleep. If you're chronically overworked, under-recovered, or headed toward burnout, HRV often shows it before you consciously feel it. Before smartwatches, tracking this over weeks and months was essentially impossible for a normal person. Now it's automatic. Here's where I'll give you the honest answer. Your nightly sleep score? Don't obsess over it. Had a bad score last Tuesday? Maybe you were stressed. Maybe you had a beer too close to bedtime. Maybe the watch slipped. Single night data is noisy. Treating it like a grade you need to beat is a great way to develop orthosomnia, the anxiety about sleep quality that actually makes your sleep worse. Yes, that's a real thing. Trends over time? Actually useful. If your deep sleep has been declining for 2 straight weeks and you're waking up feeling like garbage, that's a signal worth investigating. If your HRV has been tanking for a month, worth a conversation with your doctor. The sleep apnea screening? Potentially really important. If you snore, if your partner says you stop breathing, if you're always tired despite plenty of hours in bed, let the watch for patterns, and then go get a real sleep study. So, do smartwatches accurately track your sleep? Kind of, for some things, for some people, sometimes. They are not PSG machines, they cannot read your brain waves. They are inferring, not measuring, and different brands will tell you different things about the same night of sleep because they've built different algorithms to guess at the same underlying reality. But they're not useless either. For long-term trend monitoring, HRV tracking, and sleep apnea screening, there's real value here if you engage with it the right way. The worst outcome is waking up, glancing at your wrist, and feeling bad about a number that might be wrong. The best outcome is catching a health pattern you would have otherwise completely missed. Use it like a compass, not a GPS. Direction, not destination. If you actually want to know what's happening when you sleep, like really know, the sleep lab is still the only place that can tell you. Everything else is a very well-dressed guess. Alright, that's it for this one. If you found this useful, subscribe, drop a comment. Let me know what brand watch you're using and what your sleep score looks like, because I'm genuinely curious whether the data matches what I found here. See you in the next one.